Hey, this is Pamela Schneider for Blue Book Services. I have Greg Johnson here, our Director of Media Development, and this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review. Greg, what's happening with asparagus?
Well, I put my prop department to work this week. Came up with a
Nice.
beauty.
Nice.
The story is, if you bought the real thing at retail, you might have paid $5 or $6 a pound, and that sort of thing definitely depresses demand. What we've seen
Yeah.
in the last month or so has been really low supplies out of Mexico and Peru, and consequently a very high market, as high as $40 a carton. But the good news is volumes are starting to come up now in Peru as the seasons change. It's September here, which is still beautiful, but south of the equator, it's going to start warming up. And then in Mexico, they're moving from central Mexico over to Baja pretty soon, and that'll increase volumes too. So one of the importers I talked to this week said he's already starting to see prices slip a little as volume rises. So that's good news probably for retailers and consumers, because such low volume and high prices is a bad mix.
Well, and that's also real bad news for food service as well, because there's so many restaurants that regularly have fresh asparagus on the menu that to maintain the price points that they want to, they can't fluctuate that much. So
That's true.
pretty interesting situation there.
You had a couple of fun stories this week, didn't you?
Yeah. So I was tooling around last night and I saw this study that's talking about food waste, and I've been looking through all kinds of things about food waste. So the USDA came out with some new numbers about how much food that we are wasting, and it continues to be a thing that a lot of people aren't really paying attention to, is that most of the food that we waste is wasted at home. You buy it and then you don't eat it. Actually, I mean, if you went down to my trash can of shame right now, I went to the store this morning, and so when I come home from the store, I have to go clear out some space, and I threw away a zucchini that I had good intentions of using, some shishito peppers that I was supposed to make for a dinner last week. I mean, the thing is that there's a couple of different angles to take with food waste. There's so many different facets that this is why we don't just have this magical solution. Number one, for consumers, don't turn your crisper into an oubliette. And what I mean by that is you don't put it into it. It's not a coffin. It's supposed to keep it fresh. You're not supposed to bury it in there. So let's not do that. And that's the thing is, I feel like I should take a picture of like dollar bills in my crisper drawer lit on fire, because that's what I feel like I've done this week. Where great. And I'm not the only one, because I'm actually pretty conscious about making sure that I try to meal plan and use what I buy, and I still have this problem. So that's one thing.
Smoothie. You missed your opportunity.
Dude, do you put a zucchini in a smoothie?
Oh, shishito peppers.
Shishito
Way
peppers
better.
smoothie. You know what? I could just whiz that up with some celery and some kale, and I would live forever.
It might look like fake guacamole.
It might. But that's the other thing. The newsy angle of this, however, is a new study that just came out that suggests a way, if they are not money motivated and they don't think, hey, I'm throwing money away, and then when they throw wasted food away. So if you humanize fresh fruits and vegetables, people are more likely to buy so-called ugly produce. And if
Oh no.
buy me. Here's
It's
the
Sarah
thing.
McLachlan.
Yes, it was from that commercial with the sad pets. I think the ugly produce people and Sarah McLachlan need to get together to try to sell some of this ugly produce that's got this kind of stuff on it, right?
Yeah.
If you humanize fruits and vegetables and make people feel good about or bad about leaving those poor, misshapen, scabbed up fruits and vegetables at the store, then maybe they will actually buy them. Okay, here's the way that I actually bought this ugly produce, because these were actually sold as ugly at HEB. I bought
They were
them
cheaper.
on a discount for 50% off. So this is how HEB sells ugly produce. It's called Inner Beauties. And so they actually pick stuff when they're merchandising it. They find stuff that looks like this. They stick it in one of those bags and they sell it for 50% off. Or when it gets a little long in the tooth, they sell it like this. This is a little bit scabbed up, right? So just, I have a long history of anthropomorphizing produce for pictures, right? I got props everywhere for these things. That's one way to do it, is to go ahead and mark it down in the store, but that doesn't solve the problem of getting consumers to change their mindset. So maybe this anthropomorphizing, tugging on the heartstrings will actually get consumers to make that leap from the intention of, sure, I'll buy ugly produce to prevent food waste, to actually putting it in their carts. But, I think discounts are a better way to go.
I'm a big believer in discounts.
Yeah.
Now, did that food waste study, did that include non-edible food waste? Because sometimes it includes those, and it makes me think they're counting throwing away a banana peel. Like, well, I bought a banana, but it was 40% food waste because I only ate the middle.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of those studies do, but I think the USDA numbers might have some of that scrap kind of waste thing going on, where I feel like there's a couple of different categories we got to talk about here. Is it scrap, which means that it's like clippings or whatever, and there's a couple of companies that are doing great things with scraps, like Baldor in New York has a whole kitchen that is using a lot of its like juicing or fresh cut scraps and making it into soups and whatnot. That's one part of it, but the biggest parts of it are just stuff that was edible that somebody could have eaten that got thrown away.
Now that is a much bigger deal than trying to guilt me into doing something with the watermelon rind. Like, come on, man.
No. You are never going to get.
I'm not turning that into soup. No. I'm going to eat the middle because it's great, and then I'm going to throw the green part away.
If you still had chickens, they would eat it.
Oh, they used to kill watermelon. It was beautiful.
There's the other thing about that too, is I've been watching a really great series on YouTube by a stone fruit grower in California who's talking about the things that all of these food waste advocates are saying. They kind of demonize farmers almost by saying that they leave stuff in the field. And let me tell you, if a farmer has a market for it, a meaningful market that will actually produce long-term profitable returns, because that's the other part of it, long-term profitable returns, they are going to sell every bit of it that they can. But there's so many of these ideas that people come up with that don't produce long-term actual income to the farm. It's just, a spot here and a spot there. Oh, we'll pick up this ugly produce or whatever and manage to sell it through some other channel. But if it costs the farmer money, then it's not actually helping anyone. I mean, right. Dumping, tons and tons of peaches that are just culls that are not cosmetically good enough is a tragedy, and it shouldn't happen. If someone can eat it, someone should eat it. But it's not as simple as, saying that, well, they should just find a different market for it.
Yeah, sustainability is a lot of just getting supply in line with demand.
Yeah, and part of that is market specs too. But market specs are there for a reason. If you saw this in the store, would you buy it? I mean, if you had this next to a cosmetically perfect, squash, would you buy this one, or would you buy the one that had no flaws on it? I mean, this one doesn't really it just has a couple of marks on it, but I mean, that's like a scab on your food. I think this would be the last one left in the bin.
I would expect it to be discounted.
Yeah, I would expect it to be discounted, and it was, and I bought it for 50% off.
There's the win.
Yeah, that's a win for me. That's not a win for the distribution system that still had to pay the same amount of money to pick, pack, and ship it. So that's the problem with a lot of these programs, is that it still costs the same amount of money to grow and pack and ship so-called ugly produce as it does to do number ones and perfect stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of shopping, I also have A column that I wrote this week on a store that a show that I kind of grew up watching, and it's coming back. And I actually saw a retailer do something fun with it this week. Greg, did you ever watch Supermarket Sweep?
I was a Price is Right guy.
Oh yeah, you know what? I was pretty good at that one, but Price is Right is what you did when you were homesick from school, right? You didn't feel good, you'd stay at home, sit on the couch, watch Price is Right.
Yeah, or lazy summer days before you got going to the pool.
Oh yeah, lazy summer days. For me, it was either like Price is Right, and then my mom would start watching soap operas.
That's the time the kids skedaddle.
Yeah, right. So the Supermarket Sweep is actually coming back, and they've been rumored to be doing it for a couple of years now. And but there's actually one of my favorite retailers is actually the AWG Retailer of the Year, Allen's Foods in Bella Vista, Arkansas. Which, to give anybody an idea of who their competition is, Bella Vista, Arkansas is 20 miles from Bentonville. So Allen's Foods has the best social media I have ever seen out of any brand or any retailer, and they're a single store operation. It's probably why it's the best. Steve Morrow, their manager, gets out there on Facebook. He posts every single day, even when he's on vacation, to the store's Facebook page. And they just had their own Supermarket Sweep like promotion where they drew a winner who got a 2-minute shopping spree in the store. And let me tell you, I am so jealous. I would go do that in a heartbeat. It sounds like so much fun. So I wrote a fun column talking about a couple of the things that the new producers of Supermarket Sweep should consider adding to replace some of those expensive hams and turkeys that people like to get the most bang for their buck. So I suggested like whole jackfruit. I mean, those things can be like $40.
Oh yeah, you would just be the complete outlier on the curve of something like that. Where this much you know about a grocery store.
I do jackfruit. I do, let's see, first of the season Rainier cherries, solid gold Rainier variety. I don't know if you've ever seen them. I don't know if you've ever bought $20 worth of Rainier cherries before, because I have.
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose, no. Maybe some of that asparagus. I mean, $5.99 a pound asparagus. Holy cow!
You're going for fancy mushrooms, I'm sure.
Yes, fancy mushrooms, truffles, and even some of the funkier shaped ones. Those can be up to like $50 or $60 a pound. So I'm looking forward to seeing a greater produce presence in the new Supermarket Sweep, and I will definitely be watching. But for now, I got a little taste of it by watching Allen's Foods Facebook page, so that was a lot of fun. Well, that's it for this week's Produce Reporter Week in Review. If you are not getting the Produce Reporter newsletter, you should go to producebluebook.com and sign up. Otherwise, I'm going to turn on my... Don't forget to buy. Here, no, we'll turn it into a party.
Definitely had sillier props. Did you notice how nice?
That's a great one.
I know. This is legit.
I mean, your kids are way more artistically and talented than mine are. I mean, I just had to go peel these like googly eyes off of a robot that my kid uses as his Valentine's Day box. And I have to put him back before he notices. I mean, I got 6 months.
Yeah.